Chapter 4. Jason and Beth spend the better part of a week mapping the planet's surface. By using the two telescopic cameras on board the ship, one fore and one aft, and a multitude of laser resonance scanners, Beth is able to complete a very accurate atlas of the planet, including elevations of the highlands and mountains and depths of the oceans and seas. Jason finds Beth talking almost to the point of boredom. He had named the planet Terratoo, with the 2 being in Roman numerals because of its resemblance to Earth. With land masses, rivers, and oceans, he did the same. Jason is looking over the new atlas in his cabin when Beth's voice is heard.
I don't like it.
Jason looks up, impatient with the interruption.
Don't like what, Beth?
Terratoo.
I thought you were overjoyed with what might be our new home.
With the planet, yes. With the name, no.
Jason sits in exasperation, his hands on his head, which he is shaking back and forth in wonder.
Well, Miss Smarty, you have a better name?
Jason, to name this planet Terratoo with Roman numerals, it is to suggest it is a second Earth. According to my calculations, this planet was formed several million years before Earth, so it is not a second Earth, but another Earth, or more appropriately, Terratoo. So I like the name Terratoo.
Jason looks down, then to the side, then up, shaking his head all the while.
That's what I named it, Beth. Terratoo.
No, Jason. The name is the same, but the spelling
Beth puts a correct spelling on Jason's view screen.
Is different.
All right, Beth, you win. Is there anything else you want to change?
Atlas images show on Jason's view screen and change continually as Beth makes her changes.
Yes, there are several things. Sol 2 changed to Solitude. Pacific Ocean changed to Pacifica Ocean. Atlantic Ocean changed to Atlantia Ocean. America changed to America. Asia changed to Asia. Europe changed to
The list
Europea.
goes on as Beth rattles out her changes. Finally, Jason angrily jumps to his feet and shouts,
Change things to whatever you damn well please. When you're through, print me a new atlas and I'll go from there.
Silence follows. Long silence. Jason sits back down, perplexed and dismayed at his sudden outburst and regretting he had lost his temper. After several long minutes,
I was only trying to help.
Silence once more.
Beth.
No answer.
Damn. She not only appears to think and reason, she's become quite temperamental.
The naming of the features of Terratoo to be so similar to those of Earth was to keep the mother planet alive in the hearts of the descendants of the colonists who would settle the planet. Jason had to smile at the fact that Beth would always be her own descendant. She might occasionally short a circuit, but she had so many backups that the scientists who had designed her had been bold enough to proclaim she could last 1,000,000 years. The Outreach 1 was also forecast to last an eternity. Absorbing energy from the stars it approached and using a gravitational slingshot effect as it left each star, the grand ship, though it carried an ample supply of nuclear materials to power its proton beam engines when necessary, had used very little of that supply during the thousands of years it had journeyed. Later, in the control room, Jason sits in the captain's chair. Dismayed, he calls,
Beth, look, I'm sorry I screamed at you. There's so much on my mind. It won't happen again, I promise.
Silence.
Please, Beth, I'm really sorry.
Several seconds again pass.
Apology accepted, Jason. You are, after all, only human.
The next day, the lander leaves the ship and streaks toward Terratoo. Entering the atmosphere over what Beth had named Europea, the lander crosses a mountain range, then streaks over a dense forest. Then an open plain. Ahead lies a pyramid from which the radio signals were detected. Jason lands deftly a few hundred feet from the base of the pyramid. He exits the lander and walks toward the pyramid.
Can you see the pyramid, Beth?
Yes.
Damn, it's huge.
Yes. And very old, judging from the way that the rocks seem to be worn.
Jason walks around the base of the pyramid, stopping after a few hundred feet. Embedded in one of the rocks are 16 large gold tablets placed side by side. Engraved on the tablet are pictures of what appear to be intelligent bipedal creatures going about their everyday lives. They are hairless, with 3 fingers and a thumb on each hand. Their faces, though almost human-like, have long snouts rather than noses. They are clothed from the waist down and wear strangely shaped shoes.
Are you getting this, Beth?
Yes, Jason, very strange.
One of the images shows what might be a ruler sitting on what appears to be a throne. There is a smile on his face. In front of him, a warrior-class creature has just completed a swath with a sword, and the head of his victim is halfway to the ground. 2 headless torsos lay nearby. Another image shows a warrior with a stick or cane beating what appears to be females and children. The last image shows hundreds of creatures kneeling on the ground with their hands held toward the heavens. Above them is a depiction of a large comet. Jason is quiet as he studies the pictures.
This appears to be a race of humanoids. We have found no other signs of them, and my guess is the comet you see on their last tablet destroyed their kind on this planet. You can see from the images they were farmers and not very advanced, but the radio signal implies the images do not show the level of their advancement. I think the images were left as a warning to others not to follow in their footsteps, for they were obviously a warring race.
Just like man.
Later, Jason has returned to the ship and is sitting in the captain's chair.
I think it's time we woke the colonists, Beth. I'm going to my cabin to rest a while. Call me when the awakening is nearing completion.
It will be about 2 hours before they begin to regain consciousness, Jason. Rest a while. I'll call you.
Jason rises and leaves the control room. He is asleep on his bunk, dreaming of Myra and the new life they will share together when Beth calls loudly to him.
Jason, wake up! The first colonist has set up!
Jason rubs his eyes, then jumps up quickly and runs from the room. He enters the cryo room to the sounds of screaming. Several colonists have set up in their chambers. Some are screaming, some are groaning, some are pulling their hair. Jason hurries to the first chamber where a woman is sitting up and screaming.
It's okay. Remember your training. Lay back and relax.
The woman looks at him in a daze, then shakes her head up and down. Slowly, she lays back in the chamber. Jason hurries to the next chamber, this one a man. The man won't listen to him and keeps screaming. Suddenly, he arches his back as his mouth goes quiet, a glazed look in his eyes. He falls backward, breath gone from his body. Jason feels for a pulse. His eyes wide, he shakes his head and moves to the next colonist. This one he finally calms. He comes to Myra's chamber. She lies still, her eyes wide open as she looks at him.
Good girl. You're going to be all right.
Jason continues his journey from chamber to chamber. Some colonists are calm, some are not, and he calms them. Many are lifeless. Later, Jason storms into the control room, rage on his face.
Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. 17 dead, Beth. 17!
I know, Jason. A video log was opened in my memory banks when I activated the chambers. I'll put it on the screen.
The view screen illuminates with an image of General Ryman puffing on a cigar. He smiles broadly.
Congratulations, Captain. But now you have the grim news that many of your fellow travelers are dead. We have told you that you might lose 1 or maybe 2. In reality, we knew the figure might approach or even exceed half of your entire crew. So that you don't blame yourself, had we have told you the truth, would you have volunteered? Would any of your crew volunteered? I think not. A continuous cryo chamber such as yours, complete with cryobots, is virtually death-proof. Many died in our test, but many lived. There was no way we could build that ship with 72 cryo chambers like yours and equip it with 144 robots. No way. Too damn expensive. Anyway, what difference does it make? Those who made it have a new chance at life. Those who didn't would have long ago died on an overcrowded planet where life isn't much worth living. I would have taken that chance. Volunteered too. They said I was too old. Ain't that a bitch? The important things are, you have made the journey, you have found a new planet, or you wouldn't be hearing this message. You are an extension of mankind. Perhaps you can do better on your new world than we did on this one.
Ryman's image fades from the screen. Jason sits silent for a few minutes.
8 men, 9 women, dead.
I know, Jason. The colonists were paired on Earth by geneticists when they volunteered. None have even met each other. I have stored in my memory banks thousands of new pairings that took into consideration every possible loss of life.
Later, seated in the conference room in tiered rows, men on the left and women on the right, the colonists are talking amongst themselves. They are visibly excited. Jason enters the door in the back and walks to the podium, which sits just left of the large view screen in the front.
Could I have your attention, please?
The room becomes quiet.
Welcome to the Outreach 1. I know that in each of your minds is the thought that you went to sleep yesterday and are now awakening, and it is tomorrow. You are probably thinking something has gone wrong and the trip has been canceled. Rest assured, this is not the case. You weren't put in cryosleep yesterday. It was 7,999 years ago.
A murmur of disbelief is heard.
You all know we lost 17 during the reawakening, and I know you are saddened, as I am. Keep in mind, they were brave men and women, like yourselves, willing to dare the unknown for a new life. We will have a service for them later, a service on the planet below, where they will be buried as is proper. They didn't survive to see their new home, but they will become part of it.
Many of the colonists sadly shake their head in agreement.
Now, I would like for all of you to see our new home.
The view screen comes alive with the image of Terratoo almost covering the screen. There are gasps, then loud applause from the audience. Many turn to eagerly talk to others beside them, happy smiles on their faces. Jason smiles and lets the celebration go on for a moment.
Quiet, please. I understand your joy. I feel the same way. But we have things to attend to. As you know, we were all paired before we left Earth. We all signed contracts to honor those pairings. The contracts are now null and void. The ship's computer has new pairings. When the computer calls your name, come to the front. Take the hand of your mate and leave the room. You can go to the observation deck, the mess hall, the library, wherever you want to go to get to know each other.
Beth begins to call the names, and, one by one, the pairs leave, hand in hand, until there are only 2 men and 1 woman left. Jason is one of the men. All have nervous looks on their faces.
Myra Thompson, Stephen Gann.
Myra looks at Jason, a sad look on her face, then walks to meet Stephen, and they leave the room. Jason looks down and shakes his head, then throws his hands in the air in total despair and leaves the room. In minutes, he is sitting in the captain's chair, a distressed look on his face. Gone are his dreams. Gone are all his reasons for making this journey.
I am so sorry, Jason. I know you were very sad.
I don't want to talk about it.
As you wish. I have found a settlement site for the colonists.
Where?
In the Valley of the Pyramid.
Jason sits up in his chair.
Are you crazy? That area is surrounded on 3 sides by mountains and the 4th by 100 miles of swampland. They will be marooned there.
Only until their numbers grow and their technology advances. Until that time, there is no need for them to be able to venture further.
No, Beth. Bad idea.
This is where they will settle, Jason. In this, as you well know, I have authority.
Jason shakes his head, then slumps back in his seat.
Okay, Beth. You're the boss.
Weeks pass, and the new colony is started. Many metal buildings now stand on the open plain of Jamor. A large generator station provides power to all the buildings. Colonists are seen moving about the structures, with several working at building another one. The lander is at the edge of the village. Jason rolls a large glass-covered machine down the exit ramp of the lander. 2 men are in front, holding back on the machine as it comes down the ramp. Myra is off to the side of the ramp, smiling. As the men push the machine to join 3 others already on the ground, Jason walks over to Myra, a partial smile on his face.
That's the last of them. I hope you succeed in duplicating some of the animals from Earth.
I'm sure we will. We have ovum and sperm from many species of the most popular animals from Earth, and the incubators are proven to work.
They shake hands, then Jason turns to return to the lander. Over his shoulder, he says,
See you on the next run.
Later, Jason and Beth, in the form of a cryobot, are walking around the pyramid. Jason's mood is downcast.
A Domar for your thoughts?
What am I going to do, Beth? All my hopes, all my dreams, smashed, as if they were nothing. I've waited so long to find this planet, wanted so much for the time to come that I could live here and be a part of this world and share it with someone. Now there is no one. And after all this time, after all this work, I find myself alone.
Beth chuckles. Stunned by her insensitivity to his loneliness, Jason looks at the cryobot, disbelief in his eyes. In seconds, her chuckles turn to laughter. With tears forming in his eyes, he demands,
Just what in the hell do you find so funny?
Beth struggles to control her laughter. The cryobot looks at Jason.
You can have your choice of any woman on this planet.
Jason stares at the cryobot in anger.
There are no women on this planet.
There are all the women you could possibly hope to meet, and not the snobbish college professor type you brought on this journey, but real down to Terratoo women who can love you for who you are without any regards to whether you are a doctor or a lawyer or a chemist or whatever.
Jason shakes his head in bewilderment.
And just where are all these women?
The cryobot swings its arm in a wide circle, encompassing the entire valley.
Right here, as far as the eye can see.
Right where?
Right here, but not right now.
A broad smile crosses Jason's face.
Brilliant. I go into cryosleep for 40 or 50 years. When I awaken, there will be many women. I see your point, my friend.
Chapter 5. Beth named the valley she had chosen for the colonists to settle in the Valley of the Pyramid. The ancient pyramid was located in a vast plain of grasses that was bordered to the east and north by the majestic Tres Hermanos mountain range. 4 miles west of the pyramid lay a dense forest which, though only 20 miles deep east to west, stretched the entire 300 miles of the valley southward, ending in a massive swamp that edged the Atlantic Ocean. Beth named the plain of Jamor, and the forest of Trian. West of the forest lay another plain, one larger than its neighbor to the east. This she named the plain of Albuquerque. The plain of Albuquerque had its western edge divided by a large river, the one Jason had named the Rhone. The Rhone had its headwaters in another mountain range, one which joined the Tres Hermanos to the north and ran southward to the Atlantic Ocean. This range Beth named the Urales Mountains. At a point almost directly west of the pyramid, the Rhone cut through a portion of the Urales. In so doing, it formed a natural bridge that allowed access to the western portion of the plain of Albuquerque, and to another dense forest which Beth named the Forest of Darkness. The Forest of Darkness lay so hidden by the Urales Mountains that it was only in full sunlight in late spring and again in early autumn. But because of the ample rainfall produced by moist winds from the Atlantic moving northward through the valley and colliding with cooler air coming from the mountains, the forest thrived in dense vegetation found nowhere else on Terratoo. Beth called the mountains north of the forest the North Urales, and those south of the forest the South Urales. The South Urales, with the Rhone flowing peacefully beside them, stretched southward to the Atlantic. And so it was that Beth placed the colonists in an area which would require many years to develop, but even more years to escape from. They had over 3,000 square miles of fertile land that would ensure their opportunity for survival. Protected by the mountains, their winters were moderate and their summers were mild. The Forest of Trian provided more than adequate materials for building and for winter fuel. Massive trees that grew in the forest were very similar to those found on Earth, though much greater in size. The plains provided very ample farmland, and, as the colonists would find in their first year, the soil was very fertile, spawning and growing the seeds they had transported from Earth and bearing fruits in amounts and sizes which far exceeded that they had produced on the mother planet. The colonists, and the only choice they had been allowed, chose a settlement spot 3 miles southeast of the pyramid and less than a mile from the Forest of Trian. They landed with adequate supplies to last 2 years, and Jason assured them there would be more if needed. Jason, in his loneliness and at the encouragement of Beth, re-entered cryosleep a week after he had landed the last supplies to the colonists. Beth kept in close contact with the settlement, offering whatever advice and information they needed for the colony to take a foothold. Though far from being a gifted pilot, she was able, in the form of a cryobot, to deliver needed supplies. During the first 3 months before the start of their first winter, the colonists built temporary living quarters and studied the plant and animal life of their new surroundings to determine food quality. They found several delicious and nutritious fruits and berries growing in the forests of Trian and on the plain of Jamor, but in their search for edible animal life, they were not so fortunate. The meat of a hoofed animal that inhabited the plains in large herds was found to be nutritional. The animal was slightly larger than a cow and resembled a buffalo that had once roamed the earth. It was with this animal that the first artificial impregnation was tried. Using the sperm and ovum of a black Angus cattle from Earth, Myra hoped to establish a breed of the time-tested animals on Terratoo. She was elated when the experiment seemed to succeed, but 1 month into the gestation period, the host animal died. A repeated attempt produced the same result, with Myra concluding that the growing embryo was in some way poisoning the host animal. In desperation, she tried artificial insemination using only the sperm of the black Angus and the ovum of the Terratoo animal. To her amazement, this worked, and a healthy calf was born. The new animal was a strange-looking creature with the semblance of a cow, but with the hooves of a horse. The animal proved to be highly docile and highly nutritious and palatable. It was also capable of reproducing itself as a new strain of life. Within a few years, the colonists had small herds of the new animal, which Myra called cattle, to provide a rich and tasty source of meat and milk. It was in the same manner that Myra succeeded in creating a beast of burden for the colonists. Several small herds of an enormous animal that resembled a horse roamed the plains of Jamor and Albuquerque. In fact, the only real resemblance to a horse was that the animal had 4 legs, a long tail, and a flowing mane, and small ears. Other than that, it could be said that the creature resembled an elephant, for it stood 8 feet tall at the shoulders, had a thick, leathery hide, and a short snout that it used to pull leaves from the trees bordering the plains. Using tranquilizer guns, a party of colonists, with Myra leading, subdued a female and a young colt. A makeshift corral was built around them while they were still drugged, and in the following weeks attempts were made to tame them. This did not prove to be difficult, at least to a certain extent. Within days of their capture, the serene animals were eating grasses from the hands of the colonists and would come to the corral gate each morning and evening at feeding time to greet the colonists with high-pitched snorts. Finally, one daring adventurer who had grown up riding horses on his father's small dude ranch decided to try to break the female to riding. Instead, he broke his leg in the long fall to Terratoo as he was thrown just seconds after mounting the seemingly placid female. The colt proved just as unwilling to host a rider, and both creatures went into a rage when any type of harness was placed upon them. Myra tried impregnation with the female and obtained the same results she had with the hoofed animals. After capturing another female, artificial insemination was tried and again was successful. The resulting colts more closely resembled a horse, though they still had the leathery hide and the short snout and grew to stand 6 feet at the shoulders. Myra named the new breed Cantera. The Cantera also proved to be capable of reproducing itself. The new creature proved to be invaluable to the colonists, serving as a beast of burden and also as a reliable means of transportation. A spirited animal, it was immensely strong and fleet of foot, and was highly intelligent and easily accepted humans as friends and allies. The first 7 years passed fruitfully for the colonists. Only 2 species of animals were found to endanger them. One was a gigantic tree snake that lived in the forest, which not only had the crushing capability of a boa constrictor, but was also highly venomous. The other was a forest-dwelling creature, a carnivore with the speed of a mountain lion and the size of a grizzly bear. Both species were almost entirely exterminated during their early years, but not before 4 of the colonists had perished. The victims were 2 men and 2 women, and as had been previously agreed upon, the 4 surviving mates paired into new couples. Another animal that roamed Terratoo was a predator that resembled a black panther from a distance, but had facial features more similar to a German shepherd. This creature, in packs of 3 to 8, inhabited the plains as well as the forest, but was very limited in numbers. The animals were never seen but from a distance by the colonists, as if they deliberately tried to avoid them. Myra chose to name the creatures tigres because of their resemblance, at least from a distance, to the extinct earth animal. The tigre stood almost 3 feet tall at the shoulders and from nose to tail approached 7 feet. Fleet of foot and ferocious in its attack, the tigre thrived on the horned animals of the plain, though it never killed except for food. Myra tried many times unsuccessfully to tranquilize one of the creatures. They intrigued her with their prowess and speed, but she could never get close enough to subdue one of them. Regardless of how she approached or what cover she used to hide behind, they always seemed to sense her presence. They would run at a seemingly impossible rate of speed before she came within range of her tranquilizer gun. Many children were born to the colonists during the first 5 years. By the end of the 10th year, their numbers had grown to over 150. Life was good, and Terratoo proved to be almost a Garden of Eden, providing them with all the essential foods they needed to survive and posing very few dangers. The ease with which our crops were grown afforded leisure time for them to enjoy their new life to the fullest. Then, in their 11th year, disaster struck in the form of a flu-like virus. Those unfortunate enough to contract the virus died within 4 days of the onset of the first symptoms, which were no more than a runny nose and burning eyes, reminiscent of the common cold they had known on Earth, a malady that had defied a medical cure even in the 22nd century. The children, for reasons never discovered, were immune to the deadly disease. Using Beth's vast store of medical knowledge, a vaccine for the disease was developed, but during the 2 weeks this required, 23 of the colonists were stricken, leaving only 27 of the original settlement. Myra was one of the fortunate survivors. Her husband was not. He was the second to die, leaving Myra and their 3 children to fend for themselves. Only 3 intact couples remained after the epidemic was curtailed. 10 men and 11 women were left as widowers and widows, possibly because Myra and Steve had been a close-knit pair that devoted most of their time to their family and their work, and therefore had not formed any close friendships outside of their family. Myra found herself alone with her children when the survivors had paired into new relationships. This was devastating for Myra. She had loved her husband dearly, and the loneliness sought to overwhelm her.
Sometimes at night, as I lay sleeping, your memories walk a new trail through my mind. In dreams that are sweet, I hold you against me and kiss your sweet lips for one more time. Heaven may wait till I leave this life. I have known paradise with you, your soft loving touch that I need so much, all of your love so sweet and true. Morning will bring new heartache and sorrow. I love when your memories walk through my mind. Daytime so sad, my tears often falling. I'm missing you so, I'm losing my mind. I live for the dreams that come with the nighttime, when your memories walk a new trail through my mind. Heaven may wait when I leave this life. I have known paradise with you, your soft loving touch that I need so much, all of your love so sweet and true. Morning will bring new heartache and sorrow. I love when your memories walk through my mind.
I can't understand why you were taken from me.
never thought fate could be so unkind. Now all that's left are sweet memories, as they walk new trails in my mind.
Heaven may wait when I leave this life. I have known paradise with you. Your soft loving touch that I miss so much. All of your love so sweet and true. Morning will bring new heartache and sorrow. I love when your memories walk through my mind. When your memories walk a new trail through my mind.
Much later, Myra and her children are seated at the kitchen table. Myra runs her fork through her food but doesn't eat anything.
Mama, it's been months since Daddy died. You won't eat. You won't work much. We're worried about you. We don't want to lose you too.
Myra looks at her daughter for a moment, then a smile crosses her face. She rises from the table, then moves quickly to the door.
Where are you going, Mama?
Over her shoulder, Myra shouts,
To get you a new daddy.
She runs from the house, then down the street to a small building at the edge of the village. She opens a door and runs in and quickly walks to the monitor table in front of the room. Sitting at the table, she flips some switches.
Beth? Beth? Can you hear me?
No answer.
Beth? Beth, please. I need you to awaken Jason. I need him here. My children need him here.
Again, no answer. Long seconds pass. Myra begins to cry.
Please, Beth. Please answer me.
The radio will remain silent forever, and no supplies will ever again reach Terratoo. Several days later in the town meeting hall, a man walks to the podium.
I have called everyone here because as your elected mayor, it is my duty to do what I can to ensure the success of this settlement. As you know, Myra lost her husband some time back. Her children lost their father. There is no one to take his place. I do, however, have an idea. If as many as 9 couples agree, we can at least partly remedy this problem. If each man is willing to leave his family and spend 3 days with Myra's family each month, no one will be alone. Granted, Myra will have 9 husbands, so to speak, and the children will have 9 fathers. But what's wrong with that?
There is a murmur in the crowd. A woman stands up, then looks down at her husband.
Ralph, I want you to do this. Heaven knows this could happen to any of us, and I'd hate to think I could lose you and have to live the rest of my life alone, and our children would be without a father.
Ralph looks at Myra, who is still a beautiful woman, then at his wife. He smiles as he shakes his head yes. Soon, 11 more couples are standing. End of chapter 5.